So today, we're going to dive into a pretty provocative debate, one that gets right to the heart of American identity. And this isn't about politics in the usual sense. Nope, it's about something way deeper. Metaphysics. We're asking, what's the actual foundation of American rights? I mean, where do they really come from? And who can claim to defend them with, well, integrity? Okay, so here's the claim at the center of all this. The argument basically says that if you reject the idea that our rights come from a divine source, you can't logically turn around and defend those very same rights. Now, it's really important to get this straight. This isn't an attack on someone's personal character. It's a challenge to philosophical consistency. It's a pretty bold argument, so let's break it down. All right, first things first, we need to unpack what is even meant by integrity in this conversation, because honestly, the entire debate really hinges on this one specific definition. It's a distinction that is absolutely key to understanding the whole thing. So, here's the first big idea you need to grasp. The argument isn't about personal integrity, whether someone's a good person with good intentions. It's all about civic integrity. And that's defined as being philosophically aligned with the founding principles of the system you're a part of. Think of it as intellectual coherence with the nation's original blueprint. Okay, so if that's a setup, where does this supposed contradiction in civic integrity even come from? Well, it all boils down to a massive disagreement on one of the biggest questions you can ask. What is the origin of our rights? On one side of the ring, you've got the idea of endowed rights. This is exactly what's stated in the Declaration of Independence, right? Endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And the whole point for the founders was that if rights come from a source that's higher than any government, well, then no government can ever legitimately take them away. They're absolute, unchanging. And then, on the other side, you have the view that rights are constructed. This means they're human inventions, products of reason or social contracts or legal systems. But here's the catch. If we humans created them, then in theory, we humans can also change them, or redefine them, or even get rid of them. And that right there is the fundamental conflict. So how do these two big ideas play out? Well, the argument uses this really powerful metaphor to explain how this clash shows up in America's own founding documents, the blueprint and the machine. First up, you have the Declaration of Independence. Think of this as the blueprint. It doesn't set up a government, but it answers the most basic question of all. Why? Why does this nation even exist? It lays out that moral and metaphysical foundation we talked about, that our rights are a gift from a creator. Then, you've got the Constitution. And if the Declaration is the why, the Constitution is the how. It's the machine. This is the practical, secular, operational hardware, all the gears and levers of government. It doesn't talk about a creator. It starts with we the people and gets into the mechanics of power. Okay, so you have the blueprint and the machine. Here's where the argument really clicks into place. The claim is that the machine, the Constitution, is basically meaningless without its blueprint, the Declaration. See, the Constitution is designed to protect rights that already exist. But where does the idea of those rights come from? It assumes the answer already given in the Declaration. The how only makes sense because of the why. And this next quote from the source material just nails it. It says that a secular defense of American rights might be sincere, sure, but it's borrowing the architecture without owning the foundation. In other words, it's using the structure of the American system while rejecting the very premise that gives that system its original meaning and power. And this is where the argument really raises the stakes. It moves beyond just an abstract philosophical debate and into a claim about real, tangible, and potentially serious consequences. So the question becomes, is this just a harmless little inconsistency? Or does making a secular worldview the default in public life actually create a kind of constitutional injury for people who still hold to that original founding premise? And this is really the mic drop moment of the whole debate. The argument goes that when a secular framework becomes the default, it isn't neutral. It's accused of basically establishing a secular worldview as a sort of state religion. It supposedly suppresses the free exercise of theists by saying their core beliefs aren't valid for public debate. It's said to create actual legal harm by changing unalienable rights into something that can be taken away. And the final claim is that it violates the nation's own founding organic law, the Declaration itself. So, after all that, where do we land? What we've really unpacked here is a deep, complex, and honestly an unresolved tension that sits right at the very core of what it means to be American. You can boil this whole thing down to one last cool metaphor.
Is America an original track, a nation defined by a fixed theological blueprint that we have to preserve exactly as it is? Or is it a remix, a nation that's always adapting, keeping the melody of rights, but changing the source code for each new generation?
And that leaves us with a big, open question. Is America's identity rooted in a fixed, unchangeable blueprint laid down centuries ago? Or is its real genius its ability to be remixed, to evolve and adapt for whatever comes next? This isn't just some historical debate. It's a live question that's shaping how we all understand our rights and ourselves right now.